you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another episode of All About Mechanics. Today is going to be Selene's Web. We're going to do it on Veteran and we're going to show you the hard mode as well, of course. And it's going to be the same setup as before. One tank, one healer, one magicka DPS and one stamina DPS, making sure no roles have been left out and everything is as balanced as possible. Here we go. Now the first thing to note about this dungeon is in fact the ad pulls are quite large. There's lots of range stuff that needs interrupting, there's lots of nasty heals and AoE effects coming in, so you have to be really, really careful. There's plenty of archers and all that kind of stuff as well. So make sure your tank can pin everything as much as possible in the center of the room, giving you as much opportunity to throw down AoE damage and kind of stay out of trouble, while at the same time making sure that you interrupt anything that's doing anything stupid. So things like arrow sprays or heals or anything like that, make sure you're on top of it. Everyone can interrupt via a bash or a ranged interrupt if you've got an ability to do so, so make sure that you are doing that. Don't just rely on the tank to do it. As you can see here, the next pull, again, pull everything in as close as possible to the tank and make sure that you put loads of AoE down on the ground. Obviously focus the major targets if anything's got more health than anything else. For example, melee targets generally are quite tanky. Get those down first, but make sure you are still interrupting the ranged stuff. If you don't interrupt the ranged stuff, there's going to be too much AoE and you're going to get overwhelmed. Unless your healer's really, really good. Now, the first boss is not too difficult. There's a lot of heavy sacks in here, by the way. Just to point out. I think we found about 12. Something like that. I didn't pick them all up. I picked up most of them. We found about 12 anyway. First boss is very, very simple. He has several AoE abilities. One is a bunch of bats, basically like vampire bats, just like you would get yourself for your own abilities, where bats fly around him and they heal him and they damage you. So just stay out of that when it happens. Make sure the tank pulls all the adds in as close as possible. At the same time, there's also another mechanic where he spins his weapon above his head, kind of like a whirlwind or cleave effect. Just make sure you step out of that as well. And then, of course, he can pull you in like he just did then. All you have to do is get out when it's finished. So there's the bats right there. As you can see, we've all got our own positions. We're not running around the room mental. There's the spin. It's very, very easy to avoid. So just stay out of that and you'll be just fine. Doesn't matter how much damage you do or don't have. That boss is fairly simple. Just stay out of the dangerous stuff. Again, at the beginning, when the ads come in, make sure your tank stacks them on top of the boss and interrupt anything that does anything stupid, especially the archers. They're quite nasty. Another heavy sack. Make sure you pick those up. Plenty of them in there. Obviously, we weren't in here for heavy sacks, and I don't remember exactly where they all are, but there's lots of them. We've seen 2 already. Now, the next pull, same as before, pull everything into the center. Make sure you pay attention to those archers, and if there are any healers, make sure you pay attention to those as well. Now, the big two-hander guy in the middle does have a nasty burst effect that you just saw. You got 2 options: stay in the heals if your healer's really good, or just simply get out of it. It's quite a simple one. It's really, really large, so you can see it coming a mile away. I think there's some more heavy sacks around here, but I don't remember all their locations. Make sure you jump off here, but be careful not to hit the edges because you'll kill yourself. So make sure you land in the water. That was close. Make sure you land in the water. Now this boss is very simple, but there's a lot going on. Another heavy sack. My god, loads of them. Initially there are 4 cats. They'll be in kind of a solid state when they get to you, and you can kill them. And then afterwards they'll come back as ghosts. Now every time you kill them after that, they'll just keep respawning. So don't waste your time killing those cats. Unless you get really, really overwhelmed and you gotta res people. The tank should be holding on to the cats and keeping a taunt on the boss. The boss is ranged, so he will go where he wants. And unless you pull him in tactically, if you can figure out how to overshoot his range and bring him in, it becomes a bit of a problem. So to start with, kill all these cats, get them down really, really quick. Tank should just hold them really, really still. If any of them are hitting you, make sure you block because they really hurt. In the meantime, you can see he's up there. Don't fire at him. Big shield, watch. They fire back at you. So he reflects your abilities, so be really, really careful. Wait until the shield is gone and then he'll come down. Now he does get stuck in here a little bit for us, but he doesn't normally. So we got a little bit lucky. But these cats, you can see they've come back as ghosts. Get your tank to hold on to them while you lot all focus down the boss. So find your feet. Make sure that you stay out of that nasty, nasty AoE that he's got underneath his feet. And just burn him down as and when you can. Now he'll move and do a dodge roll every so often. Again, putting down another AoE. Just get out of it and carry on burning him down. Just repeat, repeat, repeat. Every time he moves, move with him and help the DPS or the healers get him down, depending on what you're using, of course. The tank, again, you can see he's nowhere near us. There is a taunt on the boss, but the tank is not going to pull the boss itself. We're just going to stay out of the way and keep the cats away from us. Now, of course, like I said, this guy got stuck. He would normally move around a little bit more than this, but he's quite simple. Puts down an AoE, do some damage, he moves. Puts down some more AoE, he moves, damage him again. Just keep on and on and on. If you let the cats go loose, that's when you have a problem. So, again, this is a tank-heavy boss, I would say, because the tank has to be on the ball. If the tank lets the cats go, you're pretty much stuffed. You can see you can disarm the traps there. You can actually do that before the fight if you're quick. He shouldn't get stuck there, but he did. Maybe he'll get lucky too. Maybe he'll get stuck. Hopefully they fix it. The next pull is quite a large one actually. We start getting different enemies now. We start getting some spiders and stuff creeping in, and some horvers. I think it's this one or the next one. I think it's the next one actually. Again, hug them all up, get them all stacked together. They burn down really, really quickly. Doesn't matter if you haven't got loads and loads. There's the spider. Yeah, they're now coming in. These can spit, and they can put AoEs down on the ground, and they can also feed off of dead spiders and repair themselves or heal themselves. So make sure that you stop them from doing so. If you see them eating another spider or another dead body, make sure you interrupt them. To be honest, so long as the tank pulls everything into the center, you shouldn't have too much of a problem, but just be aware that of course the tank has to sustain just as much as you do, and sometimes it's difficult to get everything. So just be careful, pay attention. If anything needs interrupted, then make sure you do so, because the tank can't pull everything at once. I'm sure they can get everything eventually, but they've got to recover just like you do. The horvers and the spiders are now coming, so you have to make sure that you keep out of the AoE. There's some nasty webs and poisons and stuff being put down. Just stay out of it. You won't get snared and you won't get killed. If you do stay in it, you'll slow right down and take loads of damage, so be really careful. This boss is very, very simple. There's a lot of adds that come in, but they're so low in health that they generally die to regular kind of AoE damage anyway. So just hold it really, really still. It's got under 1 million health. It's a big AoE that's attached to me, so just hold block and move out of the way so you're not killing your group. If you run around in circles with that on you, it will of course touch other people, so don't touch other people with it. Very simple. You can see again that we're in a triangle formation, not the tank but the 2 DPS and the healer, so that we've all got our own space. We can all see where each other is, and if any of us get that AoE on us, we're already in a safe place. So don't dance around the room, it's not going to help. Just find your feet, stand there, do your damage or do your healing, and you'll be just fine. Even a tank can hold completely still there while pulling in all the little adds, although the adds die really, really fast. Again, more horvers, not too much of a problem. You can kind of stack these all up together if you want. Failing that, just bring them in one at a time. They do spit in front of them though, so make sure you're not just standing in their face if you are a squishy. Spiders again. Make sure you don't... You can see this dude, he's about to try and eat the body. Interrupt him. Don't let them eat the body, they'll heal. I believe there's another heavy sack in here that they're chasing after. Yeah, I missed it. More horvers and spiders. Now you get a mixture of AoEs on the ground. You get webs, you get poisons, you get frontal AoEs, and you get spiders eating each other. Make sure that you put everything in as close as possible and burn it down with as much AoE as you can manage. If they take too long to kill, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't matter if you've got lower DPS, you can still do it exactly the same way. Just make sure that you do interrupt those spiders whenever they try to feed, because they can be a bit of a problem if that happens. Stay out of the juice, keep the tank in the middle, stack everything on top. As long as the enemies are clawed or taunted, you shouldn't have a problem. It's when they start running loose and you start running away from them that it becomes a problem. Remember, never run away from the tank. If you want to get the tank to take the aggro off something that's chasing you, go to the tank. The tank has 2 resources pools that it's trying to mess with. Some for buffs, some for blocking, some for taunting. They vary depending on your build. It is stressful for the tank to try and grab everything, so if you start running around the room, it's going to have to spend additional resources sprinting to catch up with you, or wasting a range taunt that wasn't necessary, so now we can't buff or whatever. Don't run away. Bring the stuff to the tank. Yogi, he has a frontal AoE kind of slam attack, which will usually be hitting the tank so long as the tank has got aggro on it. He will do a long charge ability that he's now doing, runs into the wall, depending on which way you face him. All you've got to do is move out of the way, and then as you saw, he roared, so we got feared and stunned, so all you need to do is break free. See that? Get out of it. Very simple. Try not to stand in his face too much, as I just did. When he does the charge, get out of the way again. Piece of cake. Now, there are stranglers in the room. They do spawn all over the place, so if you do damage to them, they will aggro and they will start attacking. But if you can keep most of the damage on the boss and not facing those, you should be just fine. They're not too problematic. They look scarier than they are. Another heavy sack, I believe, or a chest. I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm recording. I can't pick up heavy sacks, and then Stuffer will get it anyway. So this is one for you if you didn't know it was already there. I hope you're keeping track of some of these heavy sacks. There's loads of them. Most dungeons have like 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky. This has got loads of them. So this one has loads and loads of heavy sacks, and I believe Art's Corinium has something like 5 or 6 treasure chests when they're only supposed to normally have 2 as well. So there's different ways to farm different stuff. Anyway, on the way back, we get a couple of new enemies, new Hover and a new Spider or so that wasn't there on the way past. And then where the Hover boss was, another boss is there instead. So we're back in the same spot, but we're fighting a different target. Now this one's very, very simple. There's lots of tiny ads. There's a heavy sack again. See, told you there's loads of them. There's lots of tiny ads that come in, so make sure you pay attention to those. Make sure you interrupt anything that needs interrupting, but generally the tank should be able to stack it on top of the boss. Now, she does move around quite a lot. Just make sure you move with her when she does. She will try and do 2 abilities, in fact, that can both be interrupted. So as long as you keep an eye on her and look for that red flash, just bash her when it happens, she won't ever cause you a problem. She doesn't really do any damage apart from when she's trying to channel her abilities, and that's when it becomes an issue. So just make sure you interrupt her all the time, and she's basically a sit and duck. Watch out for that big AoE. Some nasty lightning damage there from the two-hander. And then kill him. Now you can see that sometimes she's inside the dead body if you're quick, so it's a bit tricky. Now here's the first lot of ads. Make sure you pay attention to those. Tank should be able to pull them in. In the meantime, stack on the boss and burn it down. 1.7 million health, it's not too much. She does fire poison AoEs occasionally, so watch out for those. But you can see that she was interrupted then, so no effects. You see her again, she'll do it again in a second. There you go, bash, interrupt. She'll go again, and then she'll run, interrupt. She can't even do anything. She'll bring spiders down every so often, that's about it. She does have a nasty Nightblade kind of attack where she puts some pretty heavy magic damage on you. But again, as long as you keep on that interrupt, she'll never do it and you'll be just fine. Just follow her when she moves and then stack around her. Really simple boss actually. Most of her abilities can be completely avoided. Very much like the one in Darkshade 1 as well. One of the first bosses in there. In fact, the first mini-boss in Darkshade 1. Also the same as the one in Blackheart Haven. There's one there you can constantly interrupt, and she never really hurts. But if you don't interrupt, you're stuffed. So make sure you pay attention. Lots of spiders in this room. Pull everything into the center. Make sure that you're not dancing around the room. And if anything's on you, bring it next to the tank. There you go, everything's stacked up nice and easy. Make sure you keep your AoEs down and make sure you interrupt anything that does anything stupid. So anyone that's flashing red, interrupt them. Anything that's flashing white and it's aiming at you, block it. You've got a sword and board guy there that does a charge ability. Again, it's very, very obvious to see. There's a massive, massive strip of AoE on the ground. All you got to do is step away from it. Very, very simple. Another heavy sack. Loads of them. Absolutely loads of them. Make sure you pick them up. Now, we've got a couple pulls in here. They're quite large. Mostly Horvers and Spiders. Hug them all up. Bring them into the middle. Lots of AoE on the ground. Make sure you take synergies and make sure you interrupt anything doing anything stupid. Especially the Spiders because they try and heal. Remember that they will try to eat the dead bodies. Dual shock level low. Control dying while recording. Good job. Again, there's lots and lots of enemies. Your tank's going to have to be on point with this one to make sure that you don't get nuked by spiders. But you should be fine. As long as he's got aggro at least, then when it comes to pulling them in, they're already hitting the right target. I've got a sneaky one at the back here. He's firing poison dots at people. Make sure you get him down quickly. And if you get him down kind of mid-health like you did then, he'll start charging after another spider to try and eat them. Again, interrupt or kill it, whichever's first. Another large pull here. Another heavy sack. Dear oh dear. Distracted much in recording. A couple humanoid ones in here as well. Watch out because there are some archers. Make sure that you interrupt any archer doing anything stupid. There's also a couple two-handers that you've got to keep an eye on, so be very, very careful in the middle. Obviously stack everything just like before. Lots of area of effect damage. Interrupt stuff that needs interrupting and stay out of the big circles. Watch out for the cleave. Again, very, very simple to avoid. You notice I'm not running around the room in circles. I just move back a bit to get out of it. Really simple. Now this last boss is very, very simple in terms of her mechanics. But I have seen a lot of groups make a mess of it because they panic. Do not panic. This is very similar to the first boss, in fact. She'll put her sword in the air and there'll be loads of vampire bats, just like the first one. She'll do a nasty cleave ability, which is actually a frontal heavy attack. And then she'll also pull everybody into the middle. Now, there's a little trick to this one. Obviously, the spider phase comes first. Now, everybody find your own space, stand around her in a nice formation, and hold still. Do as much damage as you can until she gets to lower health, and then she'll fall through the web. Now, the tank should be the one that gets heavy attacked here, not anybody else. But if it is on you and you're a DPS or a healer instead, make sure that you just block. Now, the next heavy attack, when she transforms, you do not want to block if you're not a tank. You want to get out of it. And all you have to do is move your feet. Now, we burn her down again while she's down here. Again, look at the position that we're in. We've all got 4 corners of a square, basically, or a triangle formation for the DPS and the healers, while the tank holds really, really still. Don't run around the room panicking. Now, when she transforms, you'll notice that me and the other DPS, Christina on the other side, are opposite sides. Now, she'll pull us in, and we've swapped. So we'll just have this position now. We'll just keep it. Stay out of the bats. Adds will spawn, and the tank can pull them in. In the meantime, if they're near you and they need interrupting, then do so. That bear, that Brave Star attack that she just did at the tank, that is a frontal heavy attack. If you are standing in front of it, you will get hit, so don't stand in front of it. Only the tank can really stand up to it. Again, you can see adds are spawning, there's healers and there's archers and there's two-handers and stuff as well. The tank should be able to pull them in on the spot and burn them down with the boss. Remember, if you are a DPS or a healer and one is next to you and needs to interrupt them, make sure you do so. Now, she'll put us in again. Now watch our position. Me and the other DPS have swapped. That's fine. We're still in a formation where we all have our own space, so we just stay where we are. Don't run around the room and try and readjust yourself. You are already in position. So it's perfect. From here on out, apart from adds and her heavy attack and her bats, there's a heavy attack again, nothing else changes. And it's like this for the rest of the fight. Keep your damage up, keep your AoEs down just in case the adds come in, because they will. There's the Brave Star attack, keep out of it. And you can see this dude healing. I'm going off for a run, going to interrupt him and then come back again. That was a little bit far, but at least it saved us some hassle. Sometimes the tank can't reach. Now she's going to put us in again. Look, the 2 DPS have swapped sides. So we're going to keep our sides. Stay out of the bats, because she'll heal. You can see it's rinse repeat the whole time. Stay out of the bats. Make sure the only one in front of the boss is the tank. Keep in your position the entire time, and if you get pulled in, you swap sides. Interrupt the adds. Chain them in if you're the tank. And in the meantime, do not panic. Problem solved. Now, I know people like to cheese it and throw it in the corner, but you honestly really don't need to. And hopefully they'll fix that soon anyway. And there you go. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach Selene's web as far as mechanics are concerned, especially the last boss. Don't panic, don't run around the room. Stay out of the boss's face unless you're the tank, and if you are, make sure you either block or step out of her heavy attack. The rest is fairly simple. So, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and if you are not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support the channel outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com, and I'm now on Twitch as well, so go and check that out. Of course, I'm streaming on there quite a lot now, and it also means that occasionally when the Twitch drops are active, you can get some free stuff. Anyway, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.